In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss the 4 biggest tech companies in the world spending $650 billion on AI infrastructure, Uber being found liable in a sexual assault case against one of his drivers, and out of 160 companies in New York that did layoffs last year, not a single one of them said it was due to AI. We got all this, a Tech John Spotlight, and more for you in episode 214 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl, Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. My money is not your money. I don't know if y'all heard, but Glorilla's sister or Gorilla's relative,
yes.
Let me rephrase it. She kind of went off on Glorilla for supposedly not putting her on when she got her money. Claims that she really ain't doing nothing for the family and she be fronting on TV, but in reality, she ain't really helping out the family the way the relative assumes she would. So that's why I put the AKA, the money that I worked hard for,
right?
The money that the money that I need to spend for my family and for my bills, just because I got it, don't automatically mean you got it. Now, if I want to help you out, if I want to throw some dollars your way, if I want to put you on the team, be grateful. But if I don't, hey man, my money is not your money.
You saw the video with Tracy Morgan and his bully.
Yes.
No,
that went viral. Yeah, Tracy Morgan, the guy that used to allegedly bully Tracy Morgan like relentlessly, approach him on the.
I was going to say when they first got
on the street.
Yeah, when they first got into comedy. So
right. And he's like, I'm homeless, man. Help me. And Tracy was like, no. He straight up was just like, no. And I mean, listen, you're not entitled. You're not entitled. It's all kind of different reasons. Somebody might feel like they have to cut you off or, just ain't going to be throwing good money after bad or whatever the case may be. And you're not entitled. Simple and plain.
In the case of Tracy Morgan, even before the dude asked for anything, Tracy told him, I remember what you did to me. Don't come at me like I owe you something. So he told him that he set the ground rules before dude and he said anything. And he's like, but I'm homeless, man. He's like, what that got to do with me? It's like, I take care of my kid, so.
Look, it ain't got to be none of that for me. You ain't entitled to my money.
Mm-mm.
Period.
You're not entitled to it. Now, if I give you some, if I hook you up, be grateful. If I don't, go get your own money. Instead of sitting around waiting on mine.
So the funny part with the Glorilla story to me is that she hasn't actually said anything, but she has been responding with memes and stuff like that. So somebody said that she actually hit her sister up, asked her for her Cash App, and then blocked her on Cash App because she didn't even have it before that. I'm just like, and so folks, the parody skits of the sister are quite entertaining. And
like I said, and you don't know the whole story and how that sister might have tormented her whole life or never believed in her. Oh, your little hip hop career, whatever. And even if she didn't, it ain't your money.
She could have been her biggest fan, but you're not owed anything. You really aren't. You're not. You don't owe anybody anything. Now, if she wants to, like Terrance, you said want 3 times when you was, telling the story. If you want to do this, then you can do it. But it ain't like you're obligated to do it. So yeah, that was something else. But
I had to go look that up. I hadn't heard about the beat.
It's funny. And the sad part is that they got her on TV and she's doing this on television, and she just looks
trying to call her out and
so
trying to shame her into doing something, and it's just like it ain't gonna work. If anything, it's just gonna make her not want to give you money that much more.
So yeah, it's pretty messed up. But I do want to give a shout out this week, y'all. We have a new patron. Ronald W. Boyd has joined the family. So it was funny. I was up like early in the morning I saw it come through, so I was able to reply back to him right as right as I got the notification. So it must have been like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So just want to thank you, Russ, for for supporting the show and helping us do this tech the way that we do it. For those who are wondering what we're talking about here, we are over on Patreon. So if you head over to the Tech John, the Tech JAWN.com/Patreon, you will find multiple tiers over there. Any one of which helps support the show, any one of which is going to get you access to our live stream and after party. Any one of which, or actually a couple of which, will actually get you an ad-free stream. So once again, I want to thank Ronald W. Boy for coming into the family and helping support the Tech John. So
appreciate you, Ronald.
So let's go ahead and tech into the jump. Let's jump into the tech today, because we had a few stories. There wasn't a whole lot of big tech stories, but there was just a lot of stuff that happened. So the one that I'm bringing, one that found this out I think late last week. The 4 biggest tech companies in the world. This would be Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft. They are allegedly going to spend $650 billion on AI infrastructure. Can you say, Bubble? $650 billion just in the year 2026. This is a whopping 60% increase over what they spent in 2025. And it's not like these companies have not been spending gajillions of dollars, because we've been talking about the bubble of AI for at least a year. So the fact that they are ramping it up that much, Amazon's going to put in $200 billion, Alphabet $185 billion, Meta $135 billion, Microsoft is bringing up the rear with $105 billion. So this is an unprecedented level of investment. And the industry is wondering about is there a bubble? There was a major tech sell-off over the last couple of weeks. So we're kind of coming out of that. The market's a little bit better than it has been. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on these companies spending all this money on AI infrastructure. And here's the thing. They spend that money in 2026. It's not like the data center exists in 2026. They got to build them jokers. So it takes a minute to build data centers. So are we in the midst of a bubble that might be about to pop with all this money?
Well, it's just interesting that, they're spending all this money. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit in one of our later stories without an actual ROI that they can point to currently. Where, and I know you got to spend money to make money, and this is in quote unquote investment in all of that. But I don't know, these are just really large amounts, like just massive amounts of money for tech that is very much still in its infancy. Even though ChatGPT is fairly ubiquitous at this point, and people are mostly familiar with what these tools can do. I would venture a guess into say adoption rate still wasn't at a point where these things are commonplace, and I feel like they're putting the cart before the horse, because there's not been a demonstrated I won't say a demonstrated use case, because I use it, so there's clearly use cases for it, but there's not been a demonstrated kind of overarching
advancement.
It's something. Yeah, I'm the word I'm looking for is escaping me, but that just seems like a lot of money for something that's still, large. I don't want to say largely experimental, because it's not experimental, but we're still waiting to see how this is all going to shake out and what we're really going to be using this for going forward. How it is advancing, society, I guess, in a way, and it just seems like a lot of money. But I suppose they claim they have it. I would also look very side eye at where this money is going to be coming from,
and that's my problem.
But yeah.
They just moving money around in circles. And the next thing that they figured out where they can throw some money that it won't be as bad of a negative if it doesn't work is AI, right? Because I've seen, again, I can't substantiate any of this because I'm not a financier, but the circle from NVIDIA to Oracle to OpenAI, it's like this company invests this money in these companies, and therefore these companies take that money and use it for projections to invest in this. And this is what it sounds like. It's like money that hasn't really been, like, what's the word, realized yet. I
Right.
think that's the word I'm looking for. Unrealized money being used for these billions of dollars of investment in AI that, like Stephanie mentioned, we really ain't figured out yet. We're still, like Stephanie said, we're still in the infancy stage. We still haven't, and in the story we're talking about a little bit later, it's like we're talking about AI taking jobs. Are they really? That sort of thing. It's like, well, this is a lot of money. It shows a lot of investment. I'm not 100% sure if, like, these companies is like, you know what, we really need to invest all this money into AI more so than we got a lot of money. We need to do something with this money before to get this off our books. So let's just throw it at AI.
So the thing that's really interesting to me here, this is not the industry that's spending 650. This is just 4 companies spending $650 billion. And one of the articles that I was researching for this, they said that's like the GDP of Switzerland. Switzerland is not a huge country, but it ain't a poor country. They got a lot of money. A lot of money comes out of, comes out of that country. So this is a lot of money, and it's just 4 companies that are doing it. But another article, I think this came off of Tom's Hardware. They were talking about just global semiconductor industry. So this is just semiconductors. Semiconductors will be included in the infrastructure here because they're talking about the servers, the buildings, the electric, all that stuff that Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft is doing. But when it comes to just semiconductors for the industry, that is expected to top $1 trillion, 1 trillion with a T, $1 trillion in 2026. That is up 25.6% as of 2025. This is according to data released by the Semiconductor Industry Association based on World Semiconductor Trade Statistics. So $1 trillion just in semiconductors is for the entire industry.
And again, when you look at that, you look at that number is not coming for as much as, our administration anyway claims they are championing the cause of security in the United States and America first and all that other whatever. This money is coming from foreign investment. You know what I mean? Like you're not getting $1 trillion from US banks and US based investors and all of that. So where is this money coming from? I think is my biggest question, because these are just, these are sums of money that, even though I understand these companies are $1 billion companies. However, $200 billion is like, I would just be very, very curious as to where this money is going to be coming.
So I think 2 things. So the second number, the $1 trillion, that's for just semiconductors for the entire industry. So it could be Joe's, Joe's mom and pop store that needs a semiconductor for something. They're included in that. The first number, the 650 billion, that is just the Amazons of the world, the Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft. So I think a couple things. Where's the money coming from? These companies, the biggest companies, as far as tech companies are concerned, the biggest tech companies, they got it. So my concern is that they are not, I don't think they're going to say, we're going to spend all this money in lower prices. So each one of these companies has subscription stuff. Each one of these companies dabbles in search, type stuff. I'm just wondering, are we going to see the price of everything go up because they're making these bets on, we think that AI, based on our projections, is going to be here a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. We need to spend the money today to have the infrastructure that's going to support us for tomorrow. So these are the bets that we're making. I think that is ultimately what's happening here. They're betting on tomorrow and placing those bets today by spending this money. So the 2026 money is not for stuff that's going to happen in 2026, or at least not all of it. Most of it's probably going to be for stuff that doesn't come until next year, the year after that, because they got to go out and actually build this infrastructure. They got to build these data centers. So when I really think about this, I do wonder, because we keep talking about bubbles and stuff like that. And it's like this, it feels like the dot-com bubble, but it is very different. The dot-com bubble was a lot of companies that didn't exist coming into existence with ridiculous valuations on money that they've never made. These companies make a heck of a lot of money. Now, their earnings their revenue to share is still pretty high. But these companies have a track record of actually making money, so I don't think it is as loose as what we saw in the dot-com bubble. But man, 650 billion from 4 companies, the industry just on semiconductor spending $1 trillion. It just seems like there could be a whole lot of money spent, and then we could get like a year from now, 2 years from now, it ain't what we thought it was going to be. But them loans are still due. That money has to go back. If it was foreign investors, like you say, that money still got to get paid back to somebody. So prices are going to.
And that's the thing. I think about Meta's investment in the metaverse. I mean, they changed their entire name and brand for something that they put on a shelf and haven't revisited since 3 or 4 years ago. It's just like this. I don't know. This feels very similar to that, because at the end of the day, I think there's only going to be a few sort of leaders in this space. I mean, everybody will have AI infused into all of their systems and software and tools and things like that, but I think there's only going to be a few leaders in this space, and everybody's rushing to be first. I understand capitalism. I promise I do, but I don't know, when you're talking about these types of numbers, something just feels off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to call it ghost money. Yeah, they can make it, but again, these companies ain't like my saying, emergency funds. These companies, if something happen, they ain't got 2 weeks to pay their bills, just like everybody else don't. So we shall see if this big quote unquote bet with other people's money is going to pay off.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned, as I said, as I was with the dot-com bubble. And I wasn't really concerned then, because I didn't know any better at that point. I was still, pretty young when that came around. But with this one, I'm not as concerned that this is just money that will go to waste, unless they're building these data centers like ghost cities in Singapore. I don't know if you've ever seen those cities that they've literally spent billions of dollars building these giant cities in Singapore, and they're ghost towns. Unless they're building them there, I don't think there's going to be a problem, because there will be a need, regardless of whether it is AI or something else, there will be a need for more data processing tomorrow than there is today. It's never gone down. So I think from that standpoint, eventually these data centers will get used, or they'll slow them down. Like, there's a big hole in the ground, literally around the corner from the house, where Intel has just completely slowed down building.
I was just like, you have the best example of the whole thing, because that was in the infrastructure bill back in President Biden's term, and everybody was all hype and all these jobs are coming to Ohio, and we're going to be the leader, and da 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 da. And what's going on with that? Is it just an empty building at this point?
They are actively still working on it. They're just not actively working on it at the speed that they were when it first came out. We thought it was going to be like, well, we're going to work on phase 1, and then they got that money. It's like, oh, we're going to work on phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. I think out of 5 phases. Now it's just like, oh, phase 1, we're going to extend it a year or 2 or 3. So is construction still happening there? Yes, it is. It is not tens of thousands of people working over there building these, not data centers. In this case, it would be fabrication plants for semiconductors. They're not building them as fast. Is it still being built? Yes, but it's phase 1, and phase 1 has completely slowed down. So that's what
is it still being built, or are they just putting on a show to keep that money coming in? I'm like, are we really ever going to see something come from this for real? Or is it we have to justify the federal spending that was done
and justify the tax credits and
justify the tax credits and everything else,
and
right?
All these things. And that's my problem with a lot of these companies, and this particular companies pledging all this money to build all this stuff. I'm like, I wish municipalities, I wish cities, I wish states would hammer these companies a little bit harder as far as getting the infrastructure put together, so that these companies can be more realistic about these pledges. Mm-hmm. They can pledge $1 billion, $100 trillion, and if they don't really have to show your work, or
have a solid timeline,
right,
in place,
or have to pay them taxes.
Right.
If they had to pay them taxes, I bet they would be like, hey, billions of dollars.
So, let's hurry up and get this, or let's shrink the scale so that the taxes aren't as high, or let's get this joint built so that we can afford to pay these taxes. So you can't have your cake and eat it too in these instances, because
and they do.
exactly, and the people are the ones that suffer.
Let me just say this about what is happening at Intel in New Albany, Ohio. Are they still working on it? They absolutely are still working on it. They're working on it at the level that will make them not have to pay the giant tax bill that if they go under a certain level,
right,
that they will have to pay. So it's kind of like, do we got to pay these taxes, or
We're
do we
doing
just
the
keep
bare
building
minimum.
it at the level that we are building it so that we don't have
The
to pay the
bare
tax bill
minimum.
that, that we agreed to? So, we hear this on the news it's not, it used to be like a regular thing when you heard Intel in the news every day. It's like maybe it's like a once a month type of story. But yes, they technically are still building the the foundry in New Albany, Ohio, but it's not like all 5 sections coming online all at once in the next year. It's like in a couple of years we'll get section 1 done.
If you're lucky.
So Steph, you stuck a story in here about Uber being found liable in a sexual assault case where one of the drivers was found to have sexually assaulted, a woman, and she won a fraction of what she was going for, but she did win something, and that could potentially change how how we look at Uber, as far as they don't have just a few of these. It seems like they got thousands of sexual assault cases pending against them right now.
Right. So a federal jury in Phoenix on Thursday ordered Uber to pay $8.5 million to a passenger who said one of its drivers had raped her, setting the stage for thousands of similar cases across the country. There are more than 3,000 pending sexual assault and sexual misconduct lawsuits that accuse the company of systemic safety failures. This woman was assaulted in 2023. She, wants to make sure that Uber doesn't do this to anybody else. The jury's award fell short of the $144 million that she was asking for, that her attorneys were asking for. And it says the jury did not dish out heavier penalties, in part because it did not find that the company's actions were, quote, outrageous, oppressive, or intolerable, end quote, or that they created substantial risk or significant harm. However, later on in the article, it goes on to say that her ride had been flagged. Let me find it, because I want to get that quote. Her wait, where are we? Because okay, here we go. Over 3 weeks, jurors weighed the harrowing personal account of the woman, as well as testimony from Uber executives and thousands of pages of internal company documents, including some showing that Uber had flagged her ride as a higher risk for a serious safety incident moments before she was picked up. Uber never warned her, with an executive testifying that it would have been, quote, impractical, end quote, to do so. So whatever that warning was, if they knew this driver had a lower rating, or may have
the
been
location, is
right,
the area,
I don't know what made that happen, but the idea that they would know that there was a risk, any risk of this happening, and decide not to do anything about it because it was impractical, yet the jury did not find that the company's actions were outrageous or oppressive or intolerable, is insane to me. Like, the fuck? Like, honestly, this is actually insane. I think this is, I'm glad she did win some money. I hope this sets a very solid precedent for the rest of the cases pending against Uber, and these people can move forward and also see some level of justice served. But I do wonder what door it opens for other gig sort of service apps like this.
I mean, we've seen it in little not commercials, but TikTok videos, Instagram videos, where a Grubhub driver or Uber Eats driver is sneaking food out of the bag. This is what
or
happens.
Doing something else to desecrate the food or something. Yeah,
I was trying to be nice,
right.
But we've seen this happen, and these companies can swear up and down all day long. We're just a marketplace. No, you are, by our technological society, either directly or indirectly putting people in these positions, whether it be the gig worker who is too tired and working all day long for peanuts as far as tips, and then the camel, the straw to broke the camel's back to get deliver to this one person, and the one person's like, where's my ketchup? And they lose it, because they've been working hard, busting a butt for this little chump change fees that the companies give them. Yes, you could say a person can control their temper or whatever the case may be, but in a situation like this where Uber and somebody's being sexually assaulted, and it's proof that the company was kind of like, well, we could warn them, but we really don't want to be put ourselves in that position to be warning people that impending danger may happen. And then it happens. It's like y'all are just as responsible as the evil person in the car that decided to do this heinous act.
Yeah, the part, Steph, that gets me is our algorithm is letting us know, girl, you in danger. But we're not going to tell you.
But we're not going to tell you.
That part is crazy to me.
Bananas, absolutely bananas. And now, as a woman, like, I'm gonna be side eyeing Uber every single time I order one, because what aren't you telling me about the person that's coming to pick me up? You know what I mean? Like, it's just absolutely insane to me that they would know. I don't care if the risk was that person's car was a hoopty and you might get it. Like, I don't care what the risk was. The fact that you knew there was a significant risk and you did not tell this woman that, or put an alert, some sort of notification should have popped up on her phone to, say, hey, there is the potential, you can decline this ride, you can cancel and get another ride, because she still probably would have gotten another ride with Uber, at that point. Like, so give her the opportunity. Like, it's just so reckless and irresponsible of them to do that. And then, you wonder why women want services with all female drivers. Like, there was
outlawed, but
yeah, and why can't men? Because men, you know what I mean? And it's disgusting, and it's so sad, and it's definitely going to make me, think twice. Like, I don't know what the solution is, because cab drivers, a Lyft driver, whomever could be just as janky. But maybe from now on, I'll just drive myself to the airport and pay the $20 a day to park in long-term parking. You know what I mean? Like, this is just disgusting to me. It's just really disgusting to me.
Yeah, it's just interesting how companies are so reactionary when it comes to customer safety, when you could be a little bit more proactive and make it a little bit harder for anybody to drive Uber. Or in this case where they had a specific issue, either with the driver, with the car, with the area, whatever the case may be, they were thinking, well, if we do it for them, we'll have to do it for everybody.
Right.
And
so
we
do
don't
it for
really wanna do it
everybody.
for everybody. But we don't want to, because that would be too proactionary. You would have to actually put more safety stuff in place. You would have to be more stringent with who you let drive. You'd have to work some special technology that would
all they need is a dash cam. And require, and they need to require that. They don't require dash cams. That's part of the problem. A lot of drivers use them themselves to protect for their own safety against passengers acting wild. But they need to require dash cams that they monitor, that you can be penalized for if you disable. Right. That would solve a lot of these problems if people know they're going to be watched and potentially caught doing some shady shit.
So I do believe that you can do things like you can share your ride, you can share your location,
Absolutely.
You can record it and stuff like that.
You can enable, as soon as you get in, you can share the ride. I've done that. Like, as soon as I get in the Uber, I'll push that, and my mom can literally watch my car on a map, getting me to wherever I need to go. So you can do that. You can report something I've had to do that as well. When the guy had to let me out on the side of the road before I went through the Holland Tunnel, because he didn't know where he was going. So I've had to stop the ride. Right. So it's just like, there are mechanisms in place, but still, the fact that these things are still happening because you're not educating your drivers, you're not screening your drivers well enough. I don't know what you're doing with these drivers, but you got any old body and they mama up in these cars behind the wheels of these vehicles. And this is what you get when you don't take the time and the care to make sure that the people that you're hiring as independent contractors, quote unquote, can do the job effectively.
Now, I do believe that the article said that of Uber specifically, that their rides are 99.99 something percent safe.
I don't believe that.
Let's just say that if you do believe it, well, still you have thousands of pending cases against you, which means that there's a heck of a lot of folks that are using Uber. And as the father of two youngish daughters, they're both grown, but they're still young. I preach this to them, say, hey, try not to be out by yourself to where you have to use an Uber by yourself. I know that is not the case for everyone all the time, but if it is the case for you, try to have that be done. And then if you are in an Uber by yourself, make sure you're sharing your location with us or sharing it with a friend or something, so that you know that somebody at least knows where you are. And you just threw out a great idea, Steph. I would love to see, since you can't really choose to have a female driver any longer, it would be nice to be able to choose to have a driver that has a dash cam that faces forward and faces to the rear. Now, I will say this: there are way more crazy passengers that are riding Uber that are a danger to the Uber drivers than there are to the Uber drivers.
All the more reason to require every driver to have a dash cam.
So a lot of the drivers are doing that on their own for their own safety and their own protection of, hey, this is why I had to put this person out.
But why does the driver have to do things for their own safety and the rider has to do things
for their own safety? Right.
Why
and
can't
Uber ain't got to do shit
for everybody's safety?
Right. Yeah. And that's the problem. Uber is planning to appeal this, of course. And I wanted to throw this out there too. I know this is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna throw it out there as a thought experiment anyway, because we talked about the idea, Terrance, you mentioned, DoorDash and Instacart, people getting mad and maybe suing them as well. Maybe this opens the door for them to be sued if it's shown that somebody messed up your order or whatever. Does this crack the door just a little bit for Section 230?
I would love if it would. I'll just say that.
I don't know if the companies are hurting enough yet. These lawsuits maybe will come into play, but I think we as the collective body, the people voting on these things, it's gonna have to we have to be loud enough. And I think unfortunately, the responsibility shouldn't be on us, but our responsibility to say, hey, we are holding these companies accountable via their wallets. Maybe that'll force companies to say, hey, maybe we need a little bit more regulation because I'm tired of getting sued. But I think we have to be more vocal and just not shrug it off as like, oh,
Well, I'm saying, because this woman won, when Uber has defeated these types of lawsuits many times in the past, by being able to claim these are independent contractors, we don't have nothing to do, our name is Bennett and we ain't in it. Now that they are in it, does it clear a path, not tomorrow, but, eventually for the Metas and the Snapchats of the world to have to assume some responsibility, and we get Section 230 repealed basically, because now they have to assume some responsibility for the content on their platforms.
I was going to say, I think more people had to more people had to come out and sue them for them to actually feel it. And I think these companies, like, the reason why they're being so reactionary is because it's like, oh, a couple $100 million here, a couple of million, we'll take it because everybody ain't suing
eat that.
us.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The companies are never going to say that they want Section 230 to be repealed. There's no benefit to them for that happening. That only makes them more culpable and will ultimately have to pay out more money in lawsuits that they currently don't have to pay. But I was just looking this up. This bill went into effect February 8th, 1996. It is literally 30 years old yesterday. 30 years. And if you think about it, 30 years ago, these companies weren't what they are today. I actually saw, I can't think of the actor's name. I want to say that he played in one of the Batman movies or something like that, that you thought he was going to end up being Robin. I can't think of his name.
Christian
No.
Bale.
He's younger than that. He wasn't like one of the main characters, but
he played Robin.
Gordon Love Hewitt.
Gordon Love Hewitt. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Jason Gordon.
Jason Gordon Hewitt.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's his name. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
But he actually was speaking on this, and one of the things he was saying that these laws were written 30 years ago when these companies really function like phone companies. Because if you think about 30 years ago, that's kind of how the internet companies were. They just provided you service. They weren't doing anything for you other than just giving you access to the internet. But that is no longer the case today. These companies now have algorithms that are literally trying to drive sentiment and trying to drive opinion to bolster their bottom lines. So I think the speech that he was giving, he was kind of saying is like, these rules are just antiquated. It made sense 30 years ago for this to be the case. It doesn't make sense today when you have these algorithm driven companies that are literally trying to say that we want to move sentiment in this way because it makes us more money. So, I don't think that I'm with Terrance on this. I don't think that this lawsuit is going to change it because, once again, the companies have no reason to ever want this law to happen. What's going to have to happen is that Congress is going to have to do it. And these companies' lobby is strong. They lobby a lot of money every year to make sure that laws like Section 230 are in their favor. And they will continue to spend enormous amounts of money to make that happen.
Well, to Terrance's point, I hope that this inspires more people to sue, and I'm not one that likes an overly litigious society. Like all that, people be suing for any little thing. You're going to sue, like you said, because your DoorDash driver got the ketchup wrong. I don't think you need to do that, but I definitely feel like hopefully this spurs some other people who have been egregiously harmed to feel like they may be able to get some semblance of justice. And if enough of those people speak up, I don't know, maybe, who knows?
Well, Terrance, you stuck this next story in here, and I think we might be on this one for a minute, but over 160 companies in New York State did layoffs last year. Not a single one of them, not a single one that did mass layoffs last year. Not a single one of them said the reason was artificial intelligence. Not even the company that said that we're going to lay people off because of artificial intelligence. Andy Jassy at Amazon kind of brought that back when he thought about it. It's like, nah, that's not what we're going to do. If you don't come back to work, we're going to lay you off. But 0 of 160 companies that did mass layoffs in the state of New York listed AI as a factor.
Well, they listed technological innovation or automation as the reason, but they didn't say AI specifically. And to give you a little context, New York added some regulations or laws or whatever about 11 months ago to where if any company is doing any sort of substantial layoffs, they have to specifically say why, right? Over the past couple, I'll just read this little blurb. Over the past couple of years, many companies have celebrated offloading repetitive tasks such as customer service, sales, and accounting to AI systems. You hear it all the time. These are like some of the positions that we're all saying, hey, you better get your AI up because you never know, you may be out of a job, right? And some of these customer service, sales, and accounting, but saying that they are dumping human workers in favor of AI agents or robots can risk reputational harm, and economists face challenges tracing layoffs to take advancements because companies can take decades to fully reorganize around the ways of working, right? So a little bit more interesting. New York businesses can select multiple reasons among the 17 in total that also includes bankruptcy, merger, relocation, and other on required worker adjustment, retraining, notification, or warrant filings. If any company were to select the tech and automation option, they would receive an additional question asking them to specify the technology taking over work, such as AI, robotics, or software. Over 750 notices spanning 162 companies and affecting nearly 28,300 workers have followed the rollout without AI coming up. So all them people all them notices, all them companies have been laying off in the past year. None of them even mentioned AI. So my question to y'all is, why? Why do you believe that companies are not saying the reason why we laid off these people is because of AI? Is it because they don't want to look bad laying people off because of AI? Or is the AI actually doing the work of the people?
I think they're probably not telling the complete truth about about the fact that people have lost jobs, due to AI. I think it's probably more PR related than anything else, because it doesn't sound like there's any sort of penalty to saying that, or
Mhm,
claiming that on this particular form, that the
mhm,
the state of New York the state of New York is just collecting data. So,
mhm, mhm,
the layoffs can be for whatever reason they're for. But I don't think some of these companies want to go on the record as
mhm.
saying that is why they did this, because now somebody can go and pull those public files and say, oh, you laid all these people off because of AI. So I think that is some of it. But I also think some of it could be, and this is kind of a little bit of a, I guess it's kind of a loophole, so to speak. I think some of these mass layoffs are not because the people were being replaced with AI, but the company needed to move some money around to
Mhm.
invest in AI. So they needed to clear their salary cap.
Overhead, get rid of
Needed to clear
overhead.
their salary cap, basically, to make a bigger investment in AI. So we got to lay some folks off. So you're not necessarily, it's not a one-to-one replacement. So you don't necessarily have to say they lost their job because of AI. And I think a lot of companies might be getting over on that loophole.
Mhm,
So there is a documentary movie that was made back in 2004, starred Will Smith and Kai McBride, called iRobot. And I
Mm.
think one of the things, if you were to go back to that, piece of wisdom that was created, the companies have figured out, you know what? If we tell people that we're laying them off to replace them with NS4s, they probably not going to like NS4s. And if we tell them that not only are we going to lay them off with NS4s, but to pay for all the NS4s, we're going to charge you more for the services that you get from us, because a lot of people that work at companies are also customers of the companies that they work for. So they say, oh,
Mhm.
wait a minute. So we don't want to tell them that we're going to lay them off with NS4s. And we also don't want them to feel like, well, we're going to charge them more because we have NS4s and we're laying them off. That's not good for our bottom line. So let's just say that we laying them off because they didn't want to come back into the office. It's easier. People will buy that. You didn't get laid off because of a robot. You didn't get laid off because of AI. You got laid off because you didn't want to come back in. Now, what I think is going to happen is that we're going to run out of, well, we done laid all the folks who said they didn't want to come back into the office out, into the office. What do we want to do now? Now that's
And you can't keep saying this was the overage of COVID. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They
yeah,
still using COVID
yeah.
6 years
So
later. You know
there's
what I
that.
mean? Oh, we had too many people because of COVID, so we had to cut back. Come on, son. It's
Now, I'm
2026.
saying that with my tongue firmly implanted in my cheek, but I found a couple of other articles, both from Harvard Business Review. And one of them, it basically says that companies are laying off workers because of AI's potential, not because of performance. So
Like we've been
that's
saying.
basically what you just said. It's like, okay, we're going to use AI and we're going to make you more productive, but we're not going to say the reason you got laid off is because of it. It's because of all these other things. But another one, another article from Harvard Business Review was pretty interesting to me. And I'll just ask the question, could it be the AI is actually making workers more productive? It is actually making workers work more. So you can't lay them off because, well, wait a minute, the AI that we're giving them is actually allowing them to do more work. They're becoming uber productive. Let's not lay them off. Let's keep them here and keep them using AI so we can ultimately make more money on the bottom line. This is a really interesting study where, based on research from the AI paradox, artificial intelligence consistently intensifies rather than reduces workload, contrary to the widespread promise that it would free employees for higher value tasks. So what this study has found is that people were actually using AI to do their job. And they kind of liked doing it because a lot of their job was like menial stuff that was like, repetitive, and it brought you stress. If you could use AI to take that load off, what I think a lot of companies thought was, well, if the AI is doing it, we don't need you. But what ends up happening is that the people actually, because I've got this additional time, let me go do some other work. So they're actually making productivity in areas that wasn't necessarily even their job function. One of the things that the study pointed out was that they would do things like go debug someone else's bad code, or go, literally do someone else's job, becoming uber productive, to the point to where they were working longer hours and were happier about the work they were doing. So I'm wondering if, because companies measure everything, if they say, wait a minute, we thought initially that we were going to lay people off because we're going to replace them with AI. But if they actually are using the AI to become more productive and are then doing more work, maybe we don't have to lay them off. Maybe we keep them here, and we ultimately we don't necessarily, now what we don't have to do is we don't have to go out and hire people, because we're going to use the same number of people to get more work done, but we don't necessarily have to lay them off. So I wonder if it is a combination of all of these things happening as compared to AI brought in more productivity, lay people off.
Well, I would be curious as to who got laid off. It's saying mass layoffs, but it's not really giving you the category of people. Like, was it a bunch of coders across the United States, or a bunch of software developers, or was it the administrative team? Like, a lot of the administrative, like, I would be very curious as to who, or what group of people were in the majority of those mass layoffs, because that would, I think, tell us a lot about whether or not they were sort of undercounting and sort of underinflating, if that makes any sense, like how many people lost their jobs due to AI. Because that would make a difference.
Well, I was going to say, Rob, I read a story to where companies who have laid off and said, well, we are streamlining due to AI, advances in AI, whatever the case may be. I read a story that they ain't doing that. What they're doing is they have laid off these people, and they have passed that work not to AI, but to the senior staff that's currently there. So think of developers. We're
Folks
laying
picking
off
up the slack.
we laying off all of these people because AI has made it easier to debug code and some of the things at the junior level, air quotes, Saray, air quotes. I'm saying it, air quotes. Um, we have found advances in AI to where we don't need them to do that menial labor, when in reality they just wanted to fire some people to fix overhead, and that work, instead of getting done by AI, is getting done by other people at the company. So, Rob, maybe they are being productive because of AI, but these companies are also probably taking the work that they said AI is doing it and dumping it on the people who they didn't lay off as well. So
there's probably definitely some of that happening, because if AI is making these people more productive, then, well, we're going to give you more work. If we give you more work, then we can maybe not give that work to these people and let them go. Some of the other stories that I've read on this is that some of these companies that have done layoffs, now the original story here was 160 companies in New York. There are other companies in the United States that have laid people off and have listed AI as the reason. But there are a number of those companies that have actually gone back and brought some of those people back, because AI is
Salesforce.
AI is good at doing what AI does. What companies have not figured out is, how do we get good at using AI to be good at what we do? And I think that a lot of these companies jump the gun. Oh, we can lay these people off because we can do their job without them. And it's like, now they go, oh, wait a minute. Who's going to do this TPS report? We got to train the AI on how to do it. Oh, you let that person go before they trained it. Well, who's going to train it? Oh, I don't know how to do it. That was their job. So now you got to go back and hire them, bring them back in. And so I think
solutions looking for problems.
I've heard people who are steeped in this say that people aren't losing jobs to AI. They're losing jobs to people who know how to utilize AI. And I believe that is a big part of the truth, at least right now. Now, to the person being laid off, is like, what difference does it make to me? I'm out of a job, and I get that, and I feel for that. But I do think that where we are with artificial intelligence today is that it probably isn't in mass causing enormous amounts of layoffs. What it's doing is you're able to go lay all these other folks off. And we're going to assume that workload with people who are using AI. So it isn't a direct thing. It's like, we're not saying we're replacing you with.
And again, that's another loophole to be able to not claim on a report to the state of New York that people were laid off because of AI. You know what I mean? Like that, it's not a one-to-one, it's not still not a one-to-one correlation. So they can claim that it was due to attrition or, whatever they're going to claim. But I think they've been using some creative accounting, if you will, to get around actually saying the thing and naming a thing.
Well, if you guys remember back in the day, this is, several years back, outsourcing to to other countries was a big thing. We can take this data center and move it here, and companies would try to hem and haw and never say that that's what they were doing. Oh no, we're not. Well, we do have a data center there, but that data center was built independent of these 600 people being laid off here. The one doesn't have anything to do with the other. And the reason for that is kind of the same thing. If you say, hey, we're going to take your job here in the United States that allows you to feed your family, and we're going to ship it somewhere else where we can pay a fourth, a fifth of what it costs to get the same level of work or close to the same level of work, and we're going to let you go. That is not a good thing to just go out and just tell people, hey, we're letting you go because of this. Because once again, if you are selling the services here, or people here are buying them, these companies are ginormous. They have hundreds of thousands of employees that work at them. And when you start to add up company after company after company after company that has tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of employees working at it, if they get in their head, wait a minute, you are laying us off because you are sending jobs to AI. You're building in, like Elon Musk is saying he wants to build some NS400s or NS4s or whatever. He wants to build robots in that Fremont, Texas facility. At a massive scale. Well, if those robots are replacing people, that is just not a good story that you want people to be aware of. It's like, hey, I'm building this robot so it can take my job. That just
the PR is very damaging, and I think that's at the crux of it right now. I don't necessarily think they, like I said, they're not in any danger of fines or repercussions from the state. It's the PR. The PR is very, very, I mean, look at what happened to Duolingo when they made that announcement that they were laying off their translators. People start dropping that app like, a bad habit, and their social media took a nosedive. Like Duolingo suffered quite a bit, in that short amount of time. And I think they hadn't quite recovered yet, but definitely PR is a huge reason that a company wouldn't want to admit that AI was at the heart of their layoffs.
I was a user of Duolingo. I had a streak of 496 days. And I was like, you know what? I didn't really like how y'all did your folks. And that literally was my reason for canceling my account. And I was like, it's like, you know what? So since you're really into AI, I wonder if I can go over to Gemini and I can actually ask it to give me some Spanish lessons. And guess what? It absolutely can. It absolutely can. It can actually do it. So it's like, I don't even need Duolingo. It's like, if you're going to lay your people off, let me go use something else. So that it wasn't necessarily the only reason. I was coming up on subscription fatigue. We'll probably have to save that for another show because it's just like so many subscriptions, and I just started canceling them all. But yeah, I got up to 496 consecutive days. Well, 496 days with streaks, because every now and again I'd get a free streak because I would forget. But I was pretty religious in using it, and that was, you know what? I don't like that you did this. This is why I'm canceling the account.
All the more reason for us to stop jumping off the ship so fast. It's like, let AI cook. We are so involved in it that the companies are like, do something.
They're spending $600 billion, $650 billion. You know what I mean?
If we wasn't so
pressed
to
put our little headshots in
on
chat
Facebook
to get a caricature of I saw what you posted about that, Terrance.
Yeah, it's like you giving them all the data because you want these little cute little things.
The data.
It's like, y'all drive me crazy, and y'all the ones making Facebook and Meta and them send $60 billion on data centers because
600
because you need a caricature based on what ChatGPT knows about you. Gotta love it.
Well, folks, we are in Black History Month. This is the second full week of Black History Month. And Steph, you have a spotlight of one Dr. David Blackwell.
That's right. Put some spec on Dr. Blackwell's name. Okay, so this is a little long, so bear with me. As Howard University concludes its annual commencement exercises, the story of Dr. David Harold Blackwell resonates more than ever. One of the most brilliant mathematical minds in American history, Blackwell's legacy is deeply woven into the intellectual fabric of Howard. Now, in a time defined by artificial intelligence and high performance computing, his name graces one of the world's most advanced technologies, the NVIDIA Grace Blackwell superchip. This convergence of past brilliance and future promise offers the perfect lens through which to reflect on Blackwell's life, his time at Howard, and the monumental impact of his work. Born in 1919 in Centralia, Illinois, David Harold Blackwell exhibited academic excellence from an early age. He earned all three of his degrees, including his PhD, from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign before the age of 22. But despite his remarkable credentials, the path forward was littered with barriers, especially racial discrimination. Prestigious institutions rejected his applications not on academic grounds, but because of the color of his skin. In the face of exclusion, Blackwell chose elevation. In 1944, he arrived at Howard University, where he would lay the foundation for one of the most consequential academic careers in American history. Blackwell joined the Department of Mathematics at Howard during a critical period. The university was expanding its mission to build world-class departments in the sciences and mathematics, fields where Black scholars had been historically underrepresented. Over the next decade, Blackwell played a transformative role. He revitalized the mathematics curriculum, included statistical theory courses, and served as department chair. His leadership helped position Howard University as a premier institution for Black mathematicians and scientists. It was during this time that Blackwell's intellectual curiosity began to align with the emerging fields of game theory and statistical decision theory, foundations of what we now recognize as data science and artificial intelligence. His tenure at Howard also marked a meaningful chapter in his personal and civic identity. Blackwell helped to establish the Gamma chapter of Phi Beta Kappa, the nation's most prestigious academic honor society, at Howard in 1953. His creation of the society at an HBCU symbolized not just Black scholarly excellence, but the alignment of academic freedom with social progress. For Blackwell, Gamma was more than a distinction. It was a recognition that Black intellect and leadership belonged at the center of American academic life. After leaving Howard in 1954, Blackwell became the first Black tenured professor at the University of California, Berkeley. But his years at the Mecca remained formative, shaping his commitment to mentorship, clarity as a teacher, and belief in the power of education as a force for liberation. His intellectual output is staggering. He co-authored Theory of Games and Statistical Decisions, a foundational text in game theory. He also published over 80 academic papers. Most famously, he co-developed the Rao-Blackwell theorem, which remains a pillar of statistical inference. He became the first African American elected to the National Academy of Sciences, the first to hold a tenured full professorship at UC Berkeley, and was only the seventh African American to earn a PhD in mathematics. In recognition of his groundbreaking contributions, President Barack Obama posthumously awarded him the National Medal of Science in 2012. Blackwell was not merely advancing math, he was advancing thought itself. He once described himself as not especially interested in research. I'm interested in understanding, which is quite a different thing, he said. In March 2024, NVIDIA launched the Grace Blackwell Superchip, a revolutionary tool designed to support the next generation of artificial intelligence. The chip combines NVIDIA's Grace CPU and Blackwell GPU to deliver performance levels capable of powering AI models with over 1 trillion parameters. It stands at the cutting edge of machine learning, robotics, and scientific computing. The decision to name the chip in part after Blackwell is more than symbolic. It is a recognition of the intellectual framework upon which today's AI systems are built, a framework that Blackwell helped construct. His work in information theory, game theory, and probabilistic models underpins many of the algorithms that define modern computing. For Howard University, it is an extraordinary moment. The naming honors a son of the institution whose ideas now fuel the world's most advanced machines. It underscores the truth that Black genius has always driven innovation, even if history has often failed to acknowledge it. This year, as the university spotlights breakthroughs in AI, health equity, climate science, and beyond, Blackwell's story reminds us that the roots of innovation often begin in the classroom, in mentorship, and in the quiet clarity of a mind committed to progress. It is also a reminder of the role HBCUs like Howard have played and continue to play in shaping the future of global research. Institutions that once had to fight for legitimacy are now producing the thinkers, engineers, and visionaries who define it. Shout out to Dr. David Harold Blackwell.
So here's the thing. I absolutely remember learning about the Rao-Blackwell theorem when I was in college. No idea that was a Black man that was half of that team until he got the award from Obama back in 2012. No idea.
And that's the crazy thing. It's like, they slip these kinds of things into our shared history and lexicon, but then they don't teach us about them. Like, I don't understand what even is the point of the acknowledgement if you're not going to share the history. It just makes zero sense. I mean, to your point, Rob, I spent a whole summer at Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, and never heard about Katherine Jackson. You know what I mean? Like, it just, or Catherine Mary Jackson and Catherine
Johnson.
Was Catherine's
was
last
Johnson?
Johnson, yes. Yeah. Like, never heard about them. Ever, like, not even a mention. You know what I mean? So, like, what is the point of honoring someone in this way and acknowledging someone's contribution in this way? And if you're not going to teach it to people and celebrate it as a part of American history, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, once again,
or does it make perfect sense?
Well, that part.
That part.
That part.
Well, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get out of here for this episode of the Tech John. I believe this was episode 214. So it's like, man, well over 4 years worth of shows, here at the Tech John. So Tech Life Steph, why don't you tell folks how they can get at you?
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph. Check me out on my website at stephaniehumphrey.com or tune in to Life and Tech with Tech Life Steph Sundays at 11 a.m. on Word Radio.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am on all things at Robb Dunewood. And we're also on all things at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN. So come holler at us however you holler. And until we meet again in a week's time, peace.
Peace.